Welcome to Watcher DM. This is Gabriel. Today I want to give you a quick tour of our newest game. We made this for the Pocket Quest 2025 Game Jam. It was written by Austin Holm. I did the cover art, the layout, and a bunch of the editing and stuff. And we also were supplemented with help from David Kenny from Magnum Galaxy Games, and of course Alicia Yo, who gave me tons of support in getting this done. So yeah, Watcher DM, Pocket Quest. The back page here, by the way, this is like a homemade zine copy that I made for me. There will be print-on-demand copies available through DriveThruRPG when the Game Jam is run its course. And yeah, the fiction here is pretty fun, I think. It starts with a dream. You're talking to your dead uncle at a circus. He says the Dreamside has a job for you and hands you a Mylar balloon. You wake up with it tied loosely to your ankle. Now it's 4 a.m. and you're about to break into a billionaire's mansion with 3 extra-dimensional bounty hunters to capture a fugitive nightmare. The Mylar balloon doesn't come off. You haven't slept in 49 hours. You're starting to hear other people's thoughts. Failure means reality collides with the dream realm, driving the whole human race insane. Success means capturing a psychogenic alien thought form. Can you catch what dreams may run? Pretty zany stuff. Classic Austin, if I'm being honest. Dedicated to my niblet, Bane. And yeah, Watcher DM operates on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we have an introduction, tells you what the game is, what a Wakesider is. It's kind of a term we made up to describe the waking world, or how dreams talk about the waking world. We have a glossary. The top is kind of game mechanic stuff. And the bottom, I think, is more... Oh, I might have that reversed, actually. Yeah, I don't know. There's some narrative stuff and some game mechanic-y stuff and a nice piece of art in the middle. So, there you go. All the other art in here is public domain. There's a link at the front you can go to see all the public domain art that we used and where we got it from. We go into playing the game. So how this game works, it's based on Powered by the Apocalypse. So you're going to roll d6s, and you're going to roll a number of d6s, and you're trying to get a 6 on one of them is a success. A 4 or 5 is a success with complications, and 1 through 3 is failures. We kind of go over what the job is and some examples of play. Dream magic is slightly different. Those are abilities that your character will have that can change the world that you're playing in, and then how complications work. Dream magic kind of has its own complications. Damage is handled differently between mortals and dreams. So the character who is the mortal in the party is called a lucid, and they take damage like normal people do. So if they are injured and they take more damage, they die. Dreams, on the other hand, don't take injuries. They can't be injured, but they accumulate fears. Fears can be healed in between sessions, or they can be converted into desires by the lucid's dream magic. So there's some pretty evocative kind of ideas here about how the relationships work between people who are awake and their dreams, and what dreams and emotions have to do with each other. We have our D66 table of fears here, which is really fun. This is how a showdown works. So the concept of the game, and I think it's actually described here under the job, like gather the agents, look for signs of dream magic, track down the Wakesider, overcome their defenses and mortal servants, hit them with the Oneric Lock, and defeat them in a showdown. So the showdown mechanic is done using index cards and places of power. So basically, when you hit the dream with the Oneric Lock, when you hit the passage with the Oneric Lock, yes. Then you all get pulled into the passage's dream. The passage is like the mortal person who is dreaming the Wakesider, the dream who's trying to escape. And once you go into that dreamscape, you kind of fight this battle, and if the party is able to end with the majority of the corners being places of power that belong to them, then they win. If it's a tie, they win but they take damage. And if they fail, then the characters are lost to that passage's mind forever. It's a really interesting kind of moving the dreamscape around kind of mechanic. And the way that it works in play is really interesting. So like you might start in a crowd and then based on, acquiring something they desire or running from something that they fear, they might move to a place of youth or go to the crossroads. And so like once they've done that, the cards swap. So the passage is always in the middle. And then when they try and wake them, they go to the empty space. And that is like the last round. Like everybody gets one action at that point to kind of resolve, to try and shift the dreamscape to their advantage, including the Wakesider, who's active during this whole thing. Anyway, really interesting kind of game mechanic there. We go into creating a character. So this is just the basics. Characters are basically just like a list of aspects. So the text on your character sheet simultaneously tells you about the diegetic of your character in the world, and also it is kind of your hit points. So like as you accumulate fears as a dream, you become kind of disadvantaged at taking actions around your fears. And likewise, as a mortal, you can like burn aspects to add dice to stuff. So you can kind of become a burnout, which is explained in their playbook. So we've got our desires tables, places of power tables, personas table, for building your character. And then you've got your classes. So dream classes are broken up into three categories. There's figments, wishes, and nightmares. They each have their own special magic, their own type of complications, and their own basic and advanced powers. And then they have their own aspects tables. So they'll get 2 aspects from their own tables here that they can use to describe their characters. Nightmares, of course, are fear-based dreams. Playing a nightmare is super fun, looks like. And then you've got the lucid, which is the mortal kind of key to the whole thing. Their special power is that they're human and that they can have things like documents and read and tell time and flip light switches, which I just think is a really fun way to play off the alienness of being a dream in the waking world. It's pretty cool. And then we have the Dream Maker's Guide. So this section of the book is devoted to the person who's going to be running the game. We talk about clocks because they're really handy for developing and running a session of Wakeside. And then we got our session roadmap with each section kind of explaining what that section of the roadmap is going to be. So the Wakesider, for instance, is that thing that is running, and the passage that kind of gives them access to the waking world. So we've got some example Wakesiders here, and kind of how to construct your own with some ideas. And then we talk about the opening. So the opening scene is basically when your when your dream agents and the lucid all get together. They're kind of experiencing the real world for the first time, or for a time. And this is an opportunity for them to kind of interact, stretch their legs, figure out how to use dream magic with low stakes in the world. So they can kind of get some experience there. And then the Oneric Lock is like the object that you need to hit the passage with to engage in the showdown. There's an investigation phase of the game, which is usually the party just trying to figure out how they can find the Wakesider. This is ultimately supposed to end in success, with the point of this section being that it ties the dreams and the lucid kind of to the story about the Wakesider and their passage. It can be really fun. And then we've got the barriers section. I love this section. We really kind of put a lot in here. So the barrier is kind of that thing that the Wakesider does to keep from being caught. Usually it means, manipulating mortals to stand in the party's way, and hiding and being subversive to their efforts. There's a really good example of play of the riot, which is a barrier described here. So it gives you a really good sense of how to run a barrier session of the segment. I'm sorry, of the a barrier segment of the session. And yeah, really fun art there. And then we talk about the showdown some more with an example passage and then a kind of example diagram of how play works for a showdown. As we found, it was kind of a complicated concept to get across unless you're kind of looking at a visual of how it works. So that's what's there. And then we've got our epilogue, which is the post-session, kind of end-of-session play. And it involves kind of owning up to the damage that you've done to the waking world with your dream magic. We talk about campaign play and kind of how to kind of go from session to session and enjoy multiple sessions of Wakeside. And then we have a little blurb here to the DM just about how to, really make sure that your games are going to be a lot of fun for everyone. And that mostly involves saying a lot of yes. Say yes to dice. Let things be fun. This is not a Dungeons and Dragons heroic challenge fantasy. This is much more an exploration of imagination and dreams as a topic, which I think is really fun. We also, for convenience, have all the tables in the book collected here in the back, with the exception of the aspects tables, since those are only really useful at character creation. Those have been left there. But all the other tables are here handy, and of course we have our blank page because Drive-Thru RPG requires a blank page at the back of their print-on-demand books. So yeah, it's a little prototype of our book that's going to be coming out May 5th. If you want to check out the Drive-Thru RPG Pocket Quest, there's going to be a lot of games coming out that day, all themed around dreams. We're going to be in a bunch of bundles. We're going to be helping to manage a few. So we hope you'll come check it out and support Pocket Quest and indie creators. A lot of creators are going to be coming out their first time. And so if we can give them a bump, that'd be the thing to do. And then you should expect the print-on-demand version to be coming sometime in June if you want to pick up your own personal copy of Wakeside. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to support Watcher DM any other way, you can go check out our website at watcherdm.com, join our mailing list. You can also check us out on YouTube, which is where you are now, I guess. So, like, subscribe, stars, thumbs, things. And otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for playing.